Hello, and here we are at the Kingdom of Gallon video. The first thing you're going to need are these big letters that I sent you. And actually right now I want you to pause the video and grab some colored pencils and color these letters in. Please use a different color for each set of letters. So the G should be one color, the Q's should be one color, the P's should be one color, and the C's should be one color. Okay? When you get done coloring, go ahead and click play on the video again. Okay, now that you're done coloring, we are going to be cutting each of these letters out so that we can glue them into your math notebooks. This is going to be a tool for you to use later to help you with conversions and stuff. Okay, let me just focus this here a little bit. There we go. Alrighty. So in order to start cutting out your letters, you need to take a pair of scissors and just cut the very top. So you're going to be cutting things in squares and rectangles. I don't want you to waste a bunch of time cutting around the lines exactly, and it also will make it harder for when we get to the smaller letters, and it's not going to cover things up as nicely as we want it to. So we want the letters themselves to be solid. So when you're cutting out your G, let me get that page here. Just cut from the bottom right along the widest part of the G, but just cut straight up so that it'll look like this. Maybe this would be better. See how I left all of this stuff here, this white? We want to keep that there. Do the same thing across the top of the G, where you cut just that top black part off. Here's what that looks like. So now I have this corner of white, which is exactly what we want. Okay, and I'm going to do the other side of the G here. Cut down this part here, because this part of the G is a little shorter. We want to match up with this long side, so cut that out. It'll look like this when you're done. Again, leave all of this white stuff attached. We don't want to cut that off. And then for the bottom, cut along the bottom side of the G, leaving that line straight. Okay, so when you get done with your G, you want it to look like this. You don't want it to be cut out in the middle and any of that stuff. You want it to be a solid G. Okay? Now let's do the Q's. Find your Q's. I'm going to start cutting the Q's by cutting them apart as individuals. So I'm just going to make kind of a big T on my page here so that I have 4 individual Q's. Just like this. So there's 4 Q's. And do the same thing with the Q's as you just did with the G, where you'll cut straight across, straight across, straight across, straight across. We want to leave the rectangle shape solid. We don't want to cut out this middle, and we don't want to trace around here with our scissors. We want to leave it as much of a rectangle as possible. So, straight across the top. Looks like that. This is the easiest side, that long side. Will look like that after you cut off that side. Easy. This bottom one will be a little tricky, so I'll show you what I'm doing for that one. I'm going to line my scissor up across the bottom of the Q, and then I'm just going to cut one straight line here, keeping it even as much as I can. And then for this side, I'm going to look at the widest part of the round part there. That's where I'm going to line my scissor up to cut that off. Okay, so there's one Q. See how I left this white part and this white part and this white part? Do the same thing for your other 3 Q's. Pause the video, cut out the rest of your Q's, and then when you're done with Q's, hit play again. Alright, here we go. This is our last page. We have P's and C's on here. I'm going to start with P's because that's our next smallest size. And I'm going to start by cutting the P's and C's apart from each other. So it'll look like this. Okay. Again, I'm going to start with the P's, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the Q's, where I cut them out individually. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to start by cutting them in half this way. So now I have 2 rows of P's that are separate. And then I'm going to start chopping them apart from each other. I'm not going to worry about getting close on any of them right now. I'm just cutting in between them so that I have, so that I have separate chunks here. That'll be a lot easier to cut out. Do the same thing here. Okay, so now I've got all my P's cut out separately. And to cut out the P, we're going to do the same thing as we did with the Q, where we're going to leave some white around. We're not going to cut out this middle, and we're going to leave it a square shape. I guess it'll be more of a rectangle, but that's okay. Alright, I'm going to cut across the top first, just like I did last time. Line it up on the tallest part and cut straight. Do the same thing on the widest part of the round section. Cut one straight line. You don't want to curve it in. You want to keep it straight. For this one, I'm going to line up the bottom of the P with my scissor blade. I'm going to cut one straight line again. Remember, I want to leave this part here, so don't curve your blade. And then we'll do the easy side last. There's one P. Pause the video, go cut out the rest of your P's, and then click play again when you're ready to continue. Alright, let's go ahead and cut out our C's now. These are going to be the easiest ones to cut out. We're not going to be worrying about getting this middle part of the C's here. We're going to be keeping them as squares, and you'll see why when we get to finishing everything up. Okay. To cut out the C's, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the P's and make the rows separate. There's my first row of C's. Here's my second row of C's. And my third row of C's. Okay, I'm going to set these 2 rows aside and start with this one. With the C's, we want them to be relatively close, but not quite as close as the P and Q. So I'm just going to trim a little bit off the top here, but I'm not going to touch the C like we did with those other letters. I'm just going to get rid of some of that extra stuff so it's a little bit closer. Okay? Looks like I should maybe do some of that on the bottom too, but maybe not all the way across. Okay? So you want just a little bit of white on top, just a little bit of white on bottom, and that's all we need. Then, to cut them apart, I'm going to cut off some of this extra on the side here, but I'm not going to touch the C. I'm going to leave a little white around the C. And then this is where it gets really easy. You just cut half, half. See, I'm going halfway in between here, so halfway cut, halfway cut, and that's all we do for the C. So we want them to be pretty square, and then this last one, there's a lot of extra white, so I'm going to trim it a little bit closer. Okay, that's all you should do for your C's. And then go ahead and pause the video, cut out the rest of your C's, and click play again when you're ready to continue. Alright, for this last step, before we start assembling our story, you need to take all of your C's and turn them over so that they're upside down. You don't want to turn the C, we don't want to go upside down and then over. We want to have it upside right and then turn it like you're turning a page in a book so that you're just on the back. With a black colored pencil or pen, write 4 fluid ounce symbols. So it'll look like this. FL space OZ. And then I need 3 more of those on each C. Just like that. So we need 4 of those on every single C that you cut out. So then I'll do the next one. Remember, you turn it over like you're turning a page in a book. It'll go this way, turn it right over, and you need 4 fluid ounces on each one. Okay. Then to put these in our story, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the G that you cut out and find a clean page in your notebook. It should be right after your customary capacity page. So here's my customary capacity page, and then the next page is going to be the Kingdom of Gallon. It'll look like this. This is my finished one. So we're going to start by taping the G just to the sides here. I put 2 pieces of tape. Okay. Once you've gotten your G taped, we're going to write the words last, so don't worry about that right now. Just tape the edges of the G. Open up your G, and you can see that I have 4 Q's underneath the G. So tape down your 4 Q's, but only tape the tops of the Q's because the Q's are going to flip open. Tape the tops of your Q's, and when you have your Q's taped, feel free to pause the video anytime so that you can keep up with me. After you have all 4 of your Q's taped, only the tops, flip open your Q, and again we're going to write the words later, and then tape 2 P's underneath each Q. Again, only tape the top. We want the P to be able to open up. Okay. And then open up your P, and now you can see each P gets 2 C's, and we're going to tape the sides of the C's. We're going to tape the left side so that it'll open up like the G did. So tape the left side of your C, and on the inside is those fluid ounces that we wrote. Okay. I taped one to the back of the P so that it'll flip open with it. And then I taped one underneath the P, like you taped the P's underneath the Q. So it's kind of a layer. And then the C opens up too. Alright, pause the video, finish up your taping, and then press play again and we'll walk through the story. Right, here we go. Here's the story. And feel free to write these words in as we go along. In the Kingdom of Gallon, there were 4 queens. This is on the back of the G. Here are your queens. Each queen had 2 princesses, which are the P's, and each princess had 2 cats, oops, and 8 flying Ozobots. Those are made up, of course. Now, the 8 here, this is something that you'll have to remember. 8 fluid ounces makes 1 cup. So if you need to write 4 more on each of your things, then go ahead and write 4 more fluid ounces on each of your C's. I just wrote it this way so that you could see them on top of each other. 8 fluid ounces makes 1 cup. So that means you would need 16 fluid ounces. It would be like taking 2 of these to make the 2 cups that you have. Remember, the C's are the cups. Okay, this is something that I did when I was in high school and I had a lot of fun with it. It's really easy to remember how many go in each one then, and you can count them up. Here I have 2 P's, so for a whole gallon, how many pints are in 1 gallon? All you have to do is count up your P's. 1, 2, 3, 4,